All right. So yesterday we have seen what are the goals of doing performance testing for a already existing application, right?
Yes, sir.
Explain what are the goals or what are the reasons for doing performance testing for an already existing application in the last session, right? And now today, let's see. I think this is pending, right? Ongoing regular activity in each sprint. Okay, so let us complete this and then we'll go for a newly built application. Why do we do performance testing for a newly built application? Right? Under what scenarios and or what are the reasons for doing performance testing for a newly developed application? So we'll discuss that today. So before going to that, so let me explain this. I think this is incomplete yesterday. Yeah. So the last one. So the last reason for doing performance testing for an already existing application is as an ongoing or regular activity in each sprint, right? In each sprint. So what is meant by a sprint? So in most of the projects, like 2 weeks duration is considered as a sprint. Sprint means nothing but 2 weeks of duration or 1 fortnight. Right? So fortnight, you know what is a fortnight, right? So fortnight means half month, right? So 2 weeks duration is considered as a sprint. And we also discussed yesterday that, application development is an ongoing activity, regular activity. So any application will be subjected to some new features, like some new features will be added to any application, some bug fixes will be done, right? So application development is an ongoing activity, isn't it? So it's a regular activity. So for in every sprint, some new features will be added, and in every sprint, we will have some we have to do performance testing, even though it's an already existing application. Whenever some new feature is added, or whenever some number of new users are added, whenever there is some hardware upgrade, right? Or whenever some performance issues are fixed, right? Also, like whenever some new feature is, so as in every sprint, some bug fixes also will be done. Bug fixes will be done and some new features will be added. So every sprint performance testing will be done in every sprint as an ongoing or regular activity. Is it clear, guys? What is meant by sprint? Sprint means a 2 weeks duration is considered as a sprint. So every 2 weeks, some new feature. So this is a sprint duration, general sprint duration. This is the general sprint duration. So every 2 weeks, developers will be adding some new features or fixing some performance issues or functional issues, right? Some bugs will be fixed and we have to do performance testing after those new features, adding new features or some fixing some performance issues. Is it clear, guys? Is this point clear?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes.
Now let's understand what are the reasons for doing performance testing for a newly developed application. Suppose there is a brand new application, and why should we do performance testing for a newly developed application? Or what are the reasons for doing performance testing for a newly developed application? Right? The first reason is assess the readiness for production environment. Assess the readiness of the application for production environment and to determine the user load capacity of existing systems. To determine user load capacity of existing system. So first, let's understand this one. Assess readiness of production environment means how good the application is to go into production, right? That new application, how good it is or how ready it is to go into production environment or how good it is to go to live environment. Clear, guys? And to determine the user load capacity of existing systems means what is the user load capacity? How much user load can the application support? Right? What is the user load that the application can support? Clear, guys? To determine that also we do performance testing for a newly developed application. The next reason for doing performance testing is compare the performance characteristics of with different system configurations. To compare performance characteristics with different system configurations. Right? I'll explain this in detail. What is system configuration? System is nothing but application configuration. application or hardware configuration also. We will discuss this in detail later on. So to compare the performance characteristics with different system configuration means which system configuration is giving better performance. To identify that, we do performance testing. Performance testing with different configurations. And to support system tuning or application tuning. To support system tuning or application tuning. So what is meant by tuning here? What is meant by system tuning or application tuning? Right?
Modifying the application.
Yeah, modifying the system configurations, right? I'll give some example for this. Suppose you are having a bike or any car, any vehicle, and if you are not getting good mileage, right? Let's say you are not getting good mileage or you are not getting good pickup, right? So you go to a mechanic and you tell them about the problem, isn't it? So you go to a mechanic and you tell about the problem that you are not getting good mileage or you are not getting good pickup, right? So he will do the servicing and he will do the engine tuning, right? He'll adjust the engine tuning.
Yes.
Did you observe that? They will
Yes.
adjust the engine tuning, right? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
So that is engine tuning, right? So here system tuning or application tuning is modifying the application settings to get best performance, right? So that is called as system tuning or application tuning. Modifying the system configuration to get the best performance from that application. Understood, guys? To support that system tuning and with every setting we may need to do performance testing. Suppose you modify some setting and you want to confirm whether that particular settings give best performance or not. So you have to do performance testing and to see what is the performance of the application, how are the response time, how much user load the application is supporting and all this with that configuration. So that is called as system or application tuning. So to support that system tuning, we do this performance testing, right? And to create for this performance testing for newly developed application. Clear, guys? And for creating benchmark for feature systems. So we'll discuss what is this benchmark and baseline later on. So however, whenever a new application is developed, right, we do something called benchmark testing. For now, remember that whenever a new application is developed, right, we do something called benchmark testing to compare it with feature systems. Feature systems means over the time, some new features will be added to the application or some hardware upgrade, software upgrade will happen, right? So that is feature system. That is what feature systems means. So we will compare this benchmark test results with the future results. So that is another reason for doing performance testing for a newly developed application. Guys, able to follow or no?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
And next, compare application performance on multiple platforms. Compare the application performance on multiple platforms. So for example, Red Hat Enterprise. So when I say multiple platforms, right? So it can be hardware platform or software platform, right? So mostly your servers will be running on Linux servers. Most of the applications will be running on Linux servers. And there are different flavors of Linux, like Red Hat Enterprise Linux. RHEL stands for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. CentOS, Fedora, SUSE Linux, Ubuntu Linux. So these are the different flavors of Linux. If you want to compare the application, and apart from that, some applications may be running on Windows operating system as well. So if you want to compare the application performance on multiple platforms, also we do performance testing. Which platform is giving better performance? To compare that, also we do performance testing for a newly developed application, right? And validate any application against its performance criteria. Validate any application against its performance criteria. What is meant by performance criteria? Okay. So if you take the same example of a bike or a car, right? Let's say, for example, a bike, you have some 150cc bike or 200cc bike, right? And it should have let's say, for example, it should have a pickup of 100 kilometers per hour, right? in 2 seconds. This is the performance criteria. Let's say, for example, this is the performance criteria of that vehicle. 100 to reach 100 kilometers per hour in let's say 4 seconds or 3 seconds, whatever it is. So this can be one of the performance criteria of that bike. Let's say you have some 200cc or 250cc bike, right? Anyone having Enfield or anything, any other bike like that? Can you tell anyone having idea of those numbers, guys?
We maximum 150cc, but 250cc not yet, sir. Pulsar is 150cc.
Okay, what is the pickup for that?
It is most likely 120 kilometers per hour.
Uh-huh.
120 kilometers per hour. Just taking 5 to 10 seconds, I guess.
Okay, so that is a performance criteria, right?
Yeah.
So in the same way, any application also, web application or a mobile application also, it will have some performance criteria like this, application performance criteria. It can be something like this. Application should support 5,000 users or right, user load, or response time should be uh, less than 3 seconds. This can be another performance criteria, right? These are the different performance criteria for web application or mobile applications. I'm just giving some approximate numbers. These are not fixed numbers. I'm just giving approximate numbers. Or an application should support some 2,000 transactions per second. So let's say if you take any banking application or e-commerce application, they will have huge volume of transactions. So those kind of applications will be having some criteria like this. Application should be able to process 2,000 transactions per I'll make it per hour or per minute, whatever it is. Right? Different applications will have different values. So applications, so these are, but performance criteria means these are few examples of performance criteria. Application should support some 5,000 or 10,000 user load. Response time should be less than 3 seconds, and application should be able to process 2,000 transactions per minute. Right? These are the different performance criteria. Now to validate the application against its performance criteria, right? The validate any application against its own performance criteria. For that also we do performance testing. Clear, guys? These are some approximate numbers. So I'm not saying no, these are not fixed numbers. These are some approximate numbers, example figures. Clear, guys? Guys, are you with me, able to follow?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, to validate the application against this performance criteria also, we do performance testing. The next scenario for doing performance testing is uncover what components of an application suffer poor performance. So first of all, what is meant by a component? What is the general meaning of component?
Set of rules.
Then
Set of
objective,
that is protocol, right?
yeah, it is an objective to work something useful with.
Okay. Component means part of something, a small part of something, right? A part or element of a larger whole. Okay. A part of something. Clear this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So part or element of a larger whole, especially part of a machine or a vehicle. Right? So component means a small part of something, that is called as a component. See, a part that combines with other parts to form something bigger, right? Computer components. So what is the general meaning of component? Part of something is called as a component. Now components of an application. What is meant by component of an application? So any web application architecture will be something like this. So this is a typical web application architecture. A typical web application architecture. So this, if you observe this diagram, right? So this web application is having web server, app server, database server, load balancer, and all this. So this is one component. So each one of these is called as a component. So load balancer is one component. Web server is one component, right? Application server is one component. Database server is one component. Now, suppose if you are seeing high response times for a web application, let's say you are accessing IRCTC or Redbus application or APSRTC online.in or bigbasket.com, right? Let's say you are accessing some web application like bigbasket.com or a mobile app also, BigBasket mobile app, right? So each of these applications will have different components like this. They will be running on either this BigBasket or Facebook or Amazon, right? All these applications will be having these components like web server, application server, database server. Clear guys? Or you take any example, any web application or any mobile application, mobile app as well, right? Can you list out some popular mobile apps that you are using? Again, you use Amazon app, right? Or Facebook app on your mobile, Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, isn't it? So any application or any, okay, you know what is the meaning of, did I cover this? What is the meaning of, what is the difference between application and an app? So generally this application term, see what is the difference between application and an app, right? So the term application is used for web applications. So term application is used for web applications, whereas mobile apps, this app is used for mobile apps. This term app is used for mobile apps. Clear guys?
Yes.
Is it clear guys? So any web application will have this architecture or will have different components like this: web server, app server, database server, right? Web server, app server, database server. Now, so when if you say that some application performance is poor, right? Suppose for example you are trying to access bigbasket.com and response times are very high. Let's say response times are very high. So that poor performance can be because of web server. It can be because of any component. It can be because of web server. It can be because of application server, or it can be because of database server or the load balancer also. Suppose if you are not getting good mileage on your vehicle, from your vehicle, right? So it can be an engine problem, right? What can be the reasons, guys, for poor mileage? So let's take this example. Let's say you are getting poor mileage from your vehicle. So what are the possible reasons, guys?
Any heating?
Okay, it can be an engine issue. Yes.
An extension?
Hmm?
Chain extension, sir. The connecting chain
Okay.
extension.
Okay. So if the chain is loose also, you will not get good mileage. Okay. It can be because of, spark plug. Yes or no?
Large tires compared to
Spark plug. Or it can be because of poor
Mag
tire
wheel.
pressure.
fat tires.
Tire pressure. Yes or no? You should have proper tire pressure. Yes or no? If tire pressure is very less, also you will get poor mileage. Isn't it? Or it can be because of carburetor, right? There will be something called carburetor. Yes or no?
Yes.
They will clean the carburetor, right? If you complain about poor mileage, first thing they will check is they will check the spark plug. They'll clean the spark plug. They will check the tire pressure. They'll check the carburetor. Yes or no? So there can be multiple reasons. So these are the different components of the vehicle, right? Engine is one component, spark plug is one component, tires are another component. All these are different components. So, and any of these components can be reason for poor mileage. Yes or no? Poor mileage or poor pickup. Clear guys?
Yes, sir.
Right? So in the same way for web applications also, The poor performance can be because of poor performance of the application can be because of web server, or it can be because of application server, or it can be because of database server, or it can be because of load balancer. I'll explain this application architecture later on. What is web server? What is app server? What is database server? I'll explain those concepts, guys. Okay, just to help you understand what is meant by a component, right? So I went to that slide. I'll explain that particular architecture diagram in the coming up sessions. So why do we do performance testing for a newly developed application? One of the reasons for doing performance testing for newly developed application is uncover what components of an application suffer poor performance and under what conditions. Which component is causing poor performance? To find out that, we also do performance testing. That is another reason for doing PT. Okay. Performance testing hereby we will call it as PT in short going forward. Okay. PT for performance testing. Clear, guys? So uncover what components of an application suffer poor performance and under what conditions. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right? And next, to find out any performance bottlenecks or performance issues. To find out any performance bottlenecks or performance issues. Bottlenecks means nothing but issues. Okay. Bottleneck means nothing but an issue. Right? You know what is the meaning of bottleneck, right? What is meant by bottleneck?
Defects are issues.
What is the general meaning of bottleneck? Narrow, suppose suppose you have a two-lane road, and let's say, for example, there is a traffic, there is an accident, and half of the lane is blocked, right? In the two-lane road, let's assume that there was some accident, there is some accident, and because of which there is some, the road becomes narrow at that point, yes or no? And it will stop the traffic flow, isn't it? So you see here, watch these, images. So what is a bottleneck? Let's say, for example, so your road is something like this. You have a narrow patch of the road, right?
One by
And
one.
all the vehicles get slowed down here, isn't it? Right? So here performance bottleneck means nothing but performance issues. To find out any performance issues, we also do performance testing for a newly developed application. So these are the reasons, these are few reasons for doing performance testing for a newly developed application. Okay. Is it clear, guys? Any queries?
We can call it as a production like environment, right? This newly built application.
No, we'll discuss about that environments later on.
Oh, okay.
So performance testing environment should be a replica of production. Yes. It should be an exact replica of production. Then only you will get, you will be able to identify the performance issues properly. We'll discuss that. Don't let's not jump into those topics because like we have some non-computer case, so they will get confused. Okay. Let's go in a proper sequence. Are we good here? Can I move to the next slide or any queries here?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yes, clear.
Okay. Let's move on to the next slide then. Shall we move on to the next slide? So next concept that I am going to cover is what are the different types of performance testing? What are the different types of performance testing? Right? So you see this pic in my YouTube channel logo, right? Did you observe this pic in my YouTube channel logo?
Yes, sir.
Right? Yeah. So these are the different types of performance testing. These are the important types of performance testing. So the first one is load testing. So when you are doing performance testing, right? So there are different types of performance testing. And every application doesn't require all types of testing. Please remember that. Okay. So every application doesn't require all these types of testing. Based on the application, we will decide like what type of testing should be done. The first type of testing is load testing, which any application requires. So load testing and soap testing are required for any application. Okay. So that's why, I have highlighted in a different color if you observe here. right? So if you observe here, I have highlighted both of these in a different color, and then these are kept in bold to indicate that, like, after this load testing and soak testing, these are important types of testing. Okay, we'll discuss that anyways, why those are important, and which testing is important. So load testing and soak testing, these are required for any application, any web application. Okay, any application. So now let's understand what is load testing. So load testing is a type of performance testing which is done with expected or normal user load for 1 to 2 hours. Load testing is a type of testing which is done with expected or normal user load for 1 to 2 hours. Okay. Expected or normal user load means, let's say, for example, the target user load or expected normal user load of an application is 10,000 users. So we have to do performance testing with 10,000 users for 1 to 2 hours. Right? That is called as load testing. Clear, guys? And the next type of testing is soak or endurance. Guys, is it clear, guys? Is this clear? We have to do performance testing for 1 to 2 hours with expected user load. If you are doing that, then that is called as load testing.
So who will decided that expected and normal load, sir?
The client will provide that information. You will get that information from the client.
Okay.
Okay. So client will tell that this is my expected user load, or this is the normal user load of my application. So you have to do performance testing for this load, or our applications should support that particular load, user load. So you'll get that information from the client. Any other queries?
Would also be mentioned, no?
What is that?
The time would also be mentioned, no? The like how many for
Time we can suggest it. We have to suggest it.
Okay, so usually it would be 1 to 2 hours only.
Yes.
Okay.
The next type of testing is soak or endurance test. Guys, after this, after discussing these concepts, you will have a quick assessment. I'll show you some graphs and you need to identify what graph is that. Okay. What type of testing that does that graph represent? So we'll have some quick assessment after these concepts are completed. All right. So please, also very important concept, very important for interviews as well. So let me write down the interview question on this concept. What are the different types of performance testing that you did in your projects? What are the different types of performance testing? Okay, so this is the answer for that, right? So the first type of performance testing is load testing, which is done with expected user load for 1 to 2 hours. The next type of testing is soak or endurance test. Soak or endurance test. Endurance, the general meaning of endurance is long duration. The general meaning of endurance or soak is long duration. Now, next type of performance testing that we do is soak or endurance test. And that means long duration test. And how is the duration decided? Right? This duration depends on the business hours of the application. It depends on the business hours of the application. Again, you will get that information from the client. So there will be a team called business analyst team on the client side who will be providing this information, right? So this long duration test, duration of the test will depend on the business hours of the application. What is meant by business hours of the application? What is meant by business hours of the application? It's done business hours of the application. What is meant by business hours? Right. So some applications will be, so for some applications we do perform this soak test endurance test for 4 hours or 8 hours or 16 hours, 12 hours, like that. 4 hours or 8 hours or 12 hours or 16 hours, right? Like that, right? So how do we, so on what basis this duration will be decided is based on the business hours of the application. Let's say, for example, if you take any banking application. So what are the business hours of a banking application, guys? Let's say, suppose a bank opens at banking application, not net banking application is. I'm talking about a core banking application.
10 to sir.
Core banking application used by bank employees. Core banking application used by bank employees. Okay. Let's say, for example, a bank opens at 10 o'clock and 10 o'clock and it works till 4 p.m. Right? So what are the business hours for this application?
8 hours.
6 hours, right? From 10 to 4 means 6 hours. Right? So 6 hours is the business hours of the application, isn't it? If you take any other example like Amazon, right? If you take any Amazon net banking application, right? What would be the business hours of the application approximately? Users may start using this Amazon application from, let's say, from morning 8, right? Everyone may not be using from morning 8 a.m., right? From 8 a.m. But there may be some users who will be using that Amazon application. Yes or no? From 8 a.m. to evening, night 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
Right? Now, these kind of applications, these online applications will be having more business hours, right? Yes or no? 10 hours plus 4 hours over here, right? So 14 hours, right? Total business hours of the application will be 14 hours, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? Suppose you take another application like LIC. Let's say LIC employees application, LIC office, okay? If you want to do performance testing for an application used by LIC employees, okay? They will work sharply. They will start from 10 o'clock, right? They will stop by 3 o'clock, very sharp. So even if you go for, after 3-5, if you want to make premium, if you want to make some premium payment, they will not accept. Will they accept? Or any bank also. Once the cash hours are closed, right, they will not accept any payment or they will not do any transactions. Yes or no? Right? So every application will have its own business hours. Yes or no? It depends on whether it is an online application or whether it is a desktop application. Desktop application. So here we have different types of applications. Web applications, right? Web applications means browser-based applications, right? Versus desktop applications. Yes or no, guys? There will be some desktop applications. What is meant by desktop applications? For example, you and me use a banking application as a net banking application as an end user. Yes or no? We all use a net, any bank application as a browser-based application or net banking application, right? Whereas if you go to a bank to deposit cash or something, to deposit cash or withdraw cash, will they use the same net banking application? Does the bank employee use a desktop web application like us?
No.
No.
So they may be using some core banking application like core banking application like. Can you give some examples? If you have any friends working in a bank, please check once. What is the core banking application that they are using. So in India, most of the banks are using a core banking application called Finacle, right? Have you ever heard this term Finacle?
No.
So what is Finacle? Finacle is a core banking application developed by Infosys. Okay, Finacle software or Finacle core banking. So Finacle is a core banking solution that was developed by Infi. Clear guys? So, and bank employees, they will have the application installed on their machine. Bank employees will have this Finacle application. Those who are using the Finacle core banking solution, they will have the application installed on their machine. These applications are called as desktop applications. Clear guys? Browser-based applications are called as web applications. Yes or no guys? Right? I'll give you one more example. So how many of you joined Zoom meeting? How many of you joined this Zoom meeting from a browser? You can temporarily unmute, guys. You can temporarily unmute by pressing and holding the space bar. Press and hold the space bar on your keyboard to temporarily unmute. How many of you joined this Zoom meeting from a browser? How many of you joined from desktop application? How many of you installed Zoom meeting and you have a shortcut on the desktop and you are joining from this Zoom meeting, this desktop application? How many of you installed Zoom meeting, guys? Let's please respond.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I have installed.
Most of you should have installed Zoom meeting on your machine. So this is a desktop application, right? This is a desktop application. On the other side, you can join a Zoom meeting from a browser also, right? Let's say Zoom, you go to zoom.us, sorry, zoom.us, right? And you can join a Zoom meeting from here also. Yes or no? Click on join, let it load. You can click on join and you can join the meeting. You have to enter the meeting ID and you can join. Clear? So this is a web-based application or browser-based application. Clear, guys? So different applications will have different business hours. Right? It depends on whether it is a browser-based application or a desktop application. It depends on the nature of business, right? Suppose if it is an LIC application, they will have the business hours will be from 10 to 3. Or if it is a banking application, they may be having 10 to 4. If it is a banking application, or if it is a commercial tax office application, right? It may be having a different business hours. So this. Now you understood what is meant by business hours of the application, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you will get that information from the client and you decide like how many hours we have to do this SOAK or endurance test, right? So this is long duration test and it depends on the business hours of the application. The next, is it clear? Shall I move on to the next concept?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. The next type of testing is stress testing. So stress testing is something which we do with more than normal load on the application. More than normal load on the application. For example, for a travel application, you will be having more number of users during festival days or vacation, right? Whenever we have a festival or a vacation, we will have more number of users on a travel application like Redbus or APSRTC Online or KSRTC Online or Make My Trip, Clear Trip, all this. Yes or no?
Yeah. Yes.
Right? So those kind of applications require stress testing. Another type of testing called stress testing. Only those kind of applications. Clear, guys?
Okay.
Okay. The next type of testing is spike testing. What is the meaning of spike? Before discussing what is spike testing, what is the meaning of spike? What is the general meaning of spike?
Sudden escalation.
Right. Spike means a sudden increase, right? A spike means a sudden increase or surge is a sudden increase. Clear, guys?
Yes.
Right? So, and what kind of applications will require spike testing? These are the best examples, right? When you have Tatkal booking for IRCTC, whenever Tatkal window opens, right, there will be a sudden increase in the user load, right? Those who want to book Tatkal ticket, every user will log in at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock. We have 2 Tatkal windows. Yes or no? We have 2 Tatkal windows, right? 10 o'clock, I think AC class will start and 11 o'clock sleeper class booking will be started. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Right? So whenever this Tatkal window opens, right, so we'll have a sudden surge in the user load. Yes or no? A sudden increase in the user load for that application. Or whenever there is a flash sale, right? Or whenever there is a big billion sale on Amazon or Flipkart kind of e-commerce applications, there will be a sudden increase in user load, right? Yes or no, guys?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right? So these kind of applications require another type of testing called spike testing. These kind of applications like IRCTC or Flipkart or Amazon, these kind of applications require spike testing. All applications doesn't require all these types of testing. Okay. So it depends on the application. It depends on the nature of business. Clear, guys?
Yeah.
The next type of testing is volume testing. So volume testing means load test with expected load and huge volume of data in the database. Load test with expected load and huge volume of data in the database, right? That is called as volume testing. Okay. And there are other types of testing called scalability testing, failure testing, and capacity testing, which we will discuss tomorrow. Okay. I will explain in detail tomorrow the other types of testing. Okay. So any queries, guys, before we, and I also will discuss in detail about this load test, soak test, and the stress test, and all this. We'll discuss in detail. So I'll stop it here for today. We'll have one quick assessment and then I'll stop it. All right. So any queries before we move to the assessment?
No, sir.
So now I'll show you some graphs. I'm going to show you some graphs, and you have to identify what does each graph represent. What type of testing does each graph represent? Okay. So we'll have that quick assessment and we'll close for today. Right. This is the first graph. Let me explain the graph first before you look into it. So we call this as x-axis, right? Everyone is aware of that. This is called as x-axis and this is called as y-axis, right? Horizontal one is x-axis, vertical one is y-axis. And observe here, on x-axis, we are representing test time or duration. And on y-axis, we are representing virtual users, means user load. Okay. Now, tell me what type of testing is this? We discussed
Spike
some
testing.
test.
Spike test.
Spike
Right.
testing.
What is that? Spike testing.
Spike testing. Yeah.
Spike testing, right. So if you observe here, so this is the normal user load. If you assume that this is the normal user load, right? Right, this line represents normal user load, and in between there are two spikes, isn't it?
Yes.
In between there are two spikes, sudden spikes for a shorter duration, right? So this graph best represents spike testing. Here, yes, in interviews they will ask you to draw the graphs. They will not draw the graph and ask you to identify. In interviews, some interviewers ask you to draw the graph for each type of testing. Please remember that. Okay. Next one. Shall we move to the next graph?
Yeah.
So what type of test is this one?
Endurance test.
Endurance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Endurance.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I explained this x-axis and y-axis. So observe here on x-axis we are representing
test.
test
Load
time.
test, sir.
Load
Load
test.
test.
Load
Load
test. 1
test.
hour.
Not
Load
soak
test.
test. This is
Load
load test.
Right. This graph best represents a load test because it is
In 1 or
here
2 hours.
it's mentioned as 1 hour. Right. Now, what type of test is this one?
Stress test.
Right.
No,
So
it's
this
not
graph
spike.
best represents stress test.
Stress test.
Yeah.
Right.
Stress.
And what is this one? How about this one?
Endurance.
Soak test.
The endurance test.
Right. So this graph best represents a soak or endurance test because if you observe the test duration, it is mentioned as 5
More
hours.
than 2 hours.
Right. So this graph best represents a soak or endurance test. Clear, guys? And how about this one, the last one for today? So observe here, till now, all the graphs are having user load on y-axis and test duration on x-axis. And observe here, x-axis is same test duration here, but on y-axis you have data quantity.
This is volume.
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 Perfect. So this graph best represents volume testing, right? So because on y-axis it is representing, we are representing data quantity. Data quantity means number of records in the database, right? So this graph best represents a volume test. Okay. So I'll stop it here, guys, for today. So any queries before we close for today?
No.
So please remember, some interviewers will ask you to draw the graph. They will ask you to share your screen and take some paint or something, any tool like paint. They may ask you to draw the graphs. So you should be ready to draw the graphs. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, then I'll stop it here, guys, for today. Okay, let me pass recording. And we'll be closing these demo sessions by tomorrow. Tomorrow would be the last demo. Oh, today is Wednesday, right? Yeah. Tomorrow would be the last demo, guys. So you need to confirm your joining to continue from day after tomorrow. Okay.
And with this weekend, no classes, right?
Weekend no class. Yes, today is Wednesday, right?
Yeah, for me, Friday is no class, right? You have started. That's why I'm checking.
No. Yeah, Friday morning we will have class. That will be Thursday
Thursday
evening.
night. Yeah, Thursday night.
Thursday night for you. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So you will not have class on Friday also.
yeah. Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, Friday and Saturday. Yes. Those who are from other time zones. Those who are from particularly from US. Okay.
How about the fee details?
Yeah, I will share it in WhatsApp, Radhika.
Yeah,
Radhika, right? Yeah.
yeah,
I'll share
yeah.
it in WhatsApp.
Yeah, I message you. Yeah, yeah, sure. Thank you.
Sir, for me also.
Sure, I'll post it in the comment. So we do have a WhatsApp group for every batch, guys. So once you confirm your joining, I will add you to the WhatsApp group. So let it load once and let me show that.
Then
And I am
we
uploading
have
all the
JMeter and load runner tools, right? Two sessions, right? In this batch or anything else?
yes. So along with JMeter, I am going to cover BlazeMeter also.
Oh, okay.
So this is the WhatsApp group for this batch. So I am going to PT stands for performance testing. So I'm going to start with JMeter in this batch and then load runner. This is the batch for my identification because I have like 2 batches running. In any point of time, I will be having 2 batches running. So for my identification and your identification, so I follow this naming convention, right? So once you confirm your joining, I will be adding you to the WhatsApp group. Okay, this WhatsApp group. And also I have added those who share your Gmail IDs, I have added to Google Classroom. Hope you got the invite and you already accepted the invite, right? So I will be giving assignments over there in the Google Classroom. Once we start scripting, we will be having daily assignments. Okay.
Okay, once the fee we get pay, you can view the recorded classes or
Yeah, so I'm uploading these demo sessions to my YouTube channel as public videos. So once we start the actual sessions, like right, JMeter tool.
yeah, that's why I'm asking
So,
after we.
those videos will not be uploaded as public videos.
Yeah.
They will be only those who confirm their joining will get access. Will be able to access.
Okay.
Did you provide any notes, sir?
Yes, this is your class notes. So if you want running notes, yes, I'll take.
Yeah, we can make it, right? We can make the notes ourselves.
Yes, you can take the running notes.
Sir, like, is there any possible?
And by the way, so I will be sharing this material also for your information. So I'll be sharing all this material once you pay the fees. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. Yeah, got it.
Sir, I have one question, sir. Like, so may I attend for both classes at a time, sir? In the morning, one class, in the evening, another class. Like for morning for JMeter and evening
Yes.
for load runner.
Yes, you can attend. So I am going to start JMeter from 13th Feb, and load runner I am going to start somewhere around mid February or like 20th Feb. I'll be so because like I have one JMeter batch going on, another JMeter batch is going on in the evening. So once JMeter is completed in that batch, I'll be starting load runner in that batch. So that is December 2022 batch, wherein we have completed like 40 hours of JMeter training. So once JMeter is completed in this batch, so I'll be starting load runner for them. So you can join for load runner in that batch. Timings are 7 to 8:30. Regular timings are 7 to 8:30.
Okay, sir.
Do you have any chance of changing the timings
What is
on
that?
load runner? Do you have any chance of changing the timings for load runner? I will also join along that, but I dropped for that reason for the timings only. My son's timing is go out school that time. I am not able to
Radhika,
focus
we'll
on that.
discuss offline. Yeah, let's discuss
Yeah.
offline.
Yeah. Okay then.
Yeah. So 7 to 8:30 is this batch timing, in which I will be starting load runner from 20th Feb approximately.
Okay. Okay.
So each of my batch will come to around 60 hours. So 20 hours of training is still pending here. Got it? Approximately my training will come to 60 hours on each tool.
60 hours. Okay.
Yes. All right, then I'm passing the recording. So those who are watching this recorded session on YouTube, subscribe and turn on all notifications so that you will get updates on new batches and free demo sessions. And thanks for watching and have a nice day. If you want to enroll for the training, for this live training, so contact me on this WhatsApp number. Okay. So this is for recording purposes, not for you.